to this basically overview and demonstration of the virtual lab capabilities. I'm going to hand it over to Ken Sperow in a minute here, who is our Chief Engineer and Support Person on the VLab. I want to thank Jeff Craven, the Acting SSD Chief in Central Region, for arranging this and taking the initiative to engage the SOO community in Central Region. The VLab, some of you may have gotten familiar with it before in a different context or in some other presentation. Today, I think we'll go through some stuff you may have seen before, but basically we'd like to sort of go forward with Jeff's efforts to see how the VLab could be used amongst the SOO community in Central Region to further your mission of science collaboration and science and technology integration. The SOO program, as well as the Meteorological Development Lab, is falling under the new science and technology integration portfolio, and so we're sort of in this together in trying to improve the Weather Service's delivery of new capabilities in science and technology to improve our mission services. So the VLab is part of that, and I want to just reach out and say that from the get-go, and this continues and will remain so, this is everyone's VLab, and we're really learning how to best utilize it through the experiences and efforts of everybody who's engaged. So we're really looking forward to you all in Central Region to take it for a spin, to try some things, to see how it can be used to improve your jobs and the things that need to get done in Central Region. And we will add that to our best practices that we will share with other folks in the Weather Service and the Greater NOAA about how things can be done and improved through the VLab. So with that, I'll hand it over to Ken for the rest of the session.
Okay, great. So we're going to run through a quick set of slides, and then after that, I'll give you a demonstration of the two different components of the virtual lab: collaboration services and development services. And after this presentation, you should have a much better idea, if you don't already today, of what those are. So what we offer. So we're going to define the virtual lab, talk about its goals, the implementation, the scope, the components, give you a demo, and provide you some references so that you can follow up on your own. So the words that we've used to define it, the virtual lab, concisely, is that it's a set of services and IT framework which enables NOAA employees and the partners to share ideas, collaborate, engage in software development, and conduct applied research. So hopefully that'll make more sense after we're done with this demo today. So the whole point of the virtual lab is to help foster research to operations. And so there's a lot of innovation taking place within the Weather Service, out in the field, at the government labs, other federal groups, and even in the private sector and at universities. And so providing infrastructure to help facilitate transferring that into NWS operations is what we're trying to accomplish with the virtual lab. So some of our goals, as just indicated, are to manage innovation, streamline operations to research, and accelerate research to operations in NOAA. So this is intended not just for the Weather Service. The Weather Service is our primary group that we've been targeting to because that's who we know best. But other groups from NOAA can use it and are using it today. So the VLab provides the Weather Service's research and development partners with a clear and an inexpensive path to operations. And our philosophy is that we're trying to provide a carrot rather than a stick, so it's bottom up rather than top down, and so that's our goal. So what are some of the benefits? of the VLab and what's the implementation doing. So it's reducing the time and cost of transitions of research and development projects to enterprise operations. It's minimizing redundancy and leveraging complementary but yet physically separated skill sets. So that's an important point. The virtual lab, hence the name virtual, is an infrastructure that allows people across the country or even outside the country to work together in a collaborative environment. And that's key today because we have important people that can contribute to innovation and getting that into operations, and they're distributed throughout the nation. And that might be, we've got formal projects underway, such as hazard services, which is the next warning decision tool. And we also have, although IRIS is becoming more formal, that's something that was field innovation, and I'll get into more of that later. So it's also forging scientific and technical solutions based on a broad, diverse consensus, and promotes an R2O and O2R culture based on collaboration and trust. And this is very important to our team and to the VLab in general, and that is our guiding principles are transparency, teamwork, flexibility, responsiveness, and accountability. And if you ever find that we're not being held to those standards, please let us know and call us on it. We have a virtual lab support team, which is on call during normal business hours, Monday through Friday, and they, it's part of what we're doing is we are responding to users' requests within an hour. That's our goal, to always get back to people within an hour. We may not have, if requests come in for a new project or community, it may not be within an hour that the work is complete, but you'll know that we're working on it or that we will soon be working on it. And typically, requests like that are fulfilled within a day or two at most. So that's something we're really trying to push forward. So what's the scope of the VLab? The VLab is open to all NOAA employees. We're using NOAA's LDAP for authentication. So if you have a Google account, you're going to have, through NOAA, you're going to have access to VLab. It does allow us this is messed up down here, but it does allow us to grant external partners access. So if you as a NOAA user know that your group or your forecast office is working with an university or some other government agency, you can make a request, and I'll show you in the demo how easy that is to do, so for them to get access. So the VLab is supporting both informal collaboration as well as formal structured development. And so there are two distinct parts of the VLab, and we'll get into that help facilitate both those levels of support or collaboration and development. And the type of development that we're doing is targeted at AWIPs. Everyone on this call, I assume, is intimately familiar with that. Weather, climate, and operations supercomputing systems, WCOS at NCEP, and then also the IDP Web Farm Compute Farm, which is at NCEP as well. And in fact, we are shifting the hosting of the VLab itself to the IDP Web Farm and are deep into that at this point in time. And that transition will be taking place in mid-November. So we've got development services up. So anyway, it's good because we're very intimately aware of what it takes to move to that environment. So, and VLab is not an end-all. It's not an end around of an existing governance or process and procedures. It's put in place to help facilitate things. So this is a kind of a pictorial of what the VLab is, and so I'm going to touch on some of these quickly. There are some additional slides that touch on them more thoroughly. So when we talk about virtual lab, we're really talking about online websites. Those are we've broken it up into collaboration services and development services. So collaboration services, this is around a sense of communities. So a community is a website, and that website then is made up of users and different capabilities. And what those capabilities that come with this open source portal framework that we're using are blogs, document libraries, web content. It's a full CMS with revision controls, wikis, and forums. And so that's something that's key to collaboration, and we've set something up for you all in preparation for this meeting. On the development services side, it's not structured around communities, but more around projects. And so the central hub of development services is this project called Redmine. It's, again, open source. It's used for project management and issue tracking. And it has a very clear integration with revision control systems. And the two that we are using within or supporting within the VLab are Subversion and Git. Git is a distributed CM system, and that is what's being used with AWIPS 2. Subversion is being used by NSUP, and so if you're doing something with NSUP, most likely you'll use Subversion for that, but we support both. In the case of Git, there's also an additional package that's available, and it allows you to do code reviews. And these are, it's not necessarily, it doesn't have to be formal code reviews. These could be basically part of your process. So Jarrett provides a level of a wrapper around your Git repositories, so it provides further access control and also the ability for reviewers to get in there and review the code and get feedback. And so that's available for Git. On Subversion and Git, we support something called Jenkins, and this is an open source package that allows you to do continuous integration. And so what I mean by that is it's building the software. When someone checks something in, you can kick off a build, make sure that they're not breaking it. It's making sure that the integrity of the associated repositories with your project are that you know about problems earlier rather than later, and not just you as a project owner, but the developer too. And so, it can do things like JUnit tests and things like that. So I always spend a lot of time on this slide, and then the next ones might be reviews. So collaboration services, like I said, it's feature-rich, open source, although we are switching to the enterprise edition of this portal framework, and it's called LifeRay. We're upgrading that within, our goal is to do that in the next month by mid to late October, and so we're going to the latest version of LifeRay and the enterprise edition, which gets us some nice new features. And we actually briefed the VLab focal group 2 days ago on that. So the VLCS enables no users to share and contribute science and participate in dynamic virtual communities. So that's VLCS. So I've already covered all of this with the exception of I don't think I talked about their announcements. The other thing that I think can be very useful to people is dynamic forums, so you can create forums, and there is workflow associated with that. So that can be very powerful in terms of if you have like approval type processes, you can have those be built into your community and use that as a means of collecting that information, and it's all stored in the database and accessible. So, all right. So some of the key examples of the communities are the AWIPS community. There's a technical library that's being used to distribute information to the public for the AWIPS recompete. Someone created a Google Analytics community that's allowing anyone with a NOAA to have some guidance on how you can take advantage of Google Analytics to improve your sites. LAPS, multi-radar, multi-sensors, they're heavily using it and are looking to integrated even further in their entire process as they go into operations this next month. So there's also social media. This was created, but I don't think it's very active at this point in time. And so there's even, we've got a VLab focal point community. There are a bunch of these communities, and there's a slide that shows that. So on the development services side, we're focused on development for developers and partners. It doesn't have to be software development per se. There are examples of projects, and this comes up during most of these presentations. So if you have a project and you're doing requirements gathering and definitions, you might find that the VLab and development services and that Redmine software is very beneficial to you. So it does offer issue tracking, revision control, as I said, and then the code review and continuous integration. So some examples here of projects are under AWIPS2 development. We've got FDSE, hazard services, MPing being developed at OUN. There's a Facets that's part of NSSL, I believe, is leading that. Then MRMS, as I mentioned, also has a presence on the development services side. LAPS, and then there are 3 different WFOs that are using the software too for managing their tickets and things like and issues at the WFO level, and so they've found that to be very powerful for them. So they're currently over 60. It's probably more like 65 now. VLDS projects. And you can see the growth. This is starting out at the beginning of 2013. And these are the number of users. These are total users that have logged into the system. And so there's been a tremendous growth on both sides, development services and collaboration services. And in terms of the communities, they're pretty much tracking together. But you can see, too, there that we're above 60 communities as well as projects. Okay. With that, I'm going to go ahead and go into the demo. I typically like to ask if there are any questions before I move on. And so I think, do we have everyone muted at this point? So I guess, let me see if you raise your hand, we can unmute you if you have a quick question, or we can save it towards the end too. Here. Okay, so it looks like Matt Bunkers has a potential question.
Yeah, I had a quick question. Can you give me a specific example of a successful WFO collaboration? I'm just trying to figure out how, what I might do at my local WFO level in terms of, some example that I could relate to.
Sure. So remind me, or I'll remember, but when I go through the development services, I'll show you some of the things that these other 3 WFOs are doing. Now they're mainly using development services for their internal issue tracking. So for example, I know one of them broke it up in terms of SOO issues and then another, and ITO issues versus WCM. So they've broken it up at that level. So internal requests and basically being able to keep track of all the different things that they're doing and requests coming from outside partners and things like that so that they don't lose track of it. So it's basically for project management, a means for that. So that's, I don't know if that's getting at your question. The other example, I guess, that comes to mind is like MPing. And so I believe it's the ITO from the Norman office. He's started this or leading this project, MPing, and so he's using the infrastructure within VLab. So he's requested and created this MPing project, and so that then is being, he's using the infrastructure as a way to help him manage everything that you do in terms of the software development for that specific project. So
This
does that help?
This is Steve Smith, too. I'll add, one of the things that has not been explored yet is, for example, using the VLab to set up a collaboration with a local WFO and a neighboring, a co-located or nearby university for some sort of collaborative effort with, researchers or students at the local university. That would be an example of, sort of a local collaboration facilitated with the infrastructure. But we haven't had one of those yet to my knowledge, but that's something that could be done. I think Jeff was, Craven was interested in perhaps exploring in Central Region, collaborations among subregions of the WFOs. That hasn't been tried so far, so that's something that's, could be explored, that sort of thing. So I just add that in.
All right. So, I mean, if you want, I might try, I'll unmute those of you that have entered in pens, and then that way if you have questions along, I prefer actually, to have it be more interactive and make sure that, so I'll go ahead and do that. If it turns out that we've got too much background noise, then I'll go ahead and mute people again. Let me just do that really quick.
Hey, Ken, John Chattel can handle that
if you could do
want.
that, that'd be great. So, okay, so let me go ahead and switch gears, and we'll go ahead and start with the collaboration services side. So I've logged in here, and so this is on the collaboration services side. So this is the URL up above. Let me make it a little bit bigger for everyone. And okay. So when you first log on to the site, what you find is that you've got a listing of your own communities. And so by default, if you haven't logged into the site before, you're going to be a member of typically just one community, and that's the virtual lab. So many of you, though, will also be a member of either the Central Region SOO or SSD community, too, because we just created that and got a listing of those users. So, so you're going to see these here. You can then click on the community of interest to you if you already are a member of it, and that's going to open up in a new tab, and then you can go through that. The other option is that normally when you first log in, you're going to want to join some pre-existing communities. And so you can search through this list. You can just scan through it. And the communities are one of three different types. They're either open, meaning that anyone that's logged in can join them. They're restricted, like this one here, this voice over IP messenger. And so here you can make a request for membership. And what happens there is that the community owners are going to get an email notification. So if I want to do this, I can click on this. It's then going to take us to this form. I can put in the statement, yeah, this is interesting, I'd like to participate, save it. It'll then send an email to the people. They can then either approve or reject that request. So that's a restricted community. And then lastly, there are private communities, and those aren't going to show up here. The private communities are more for like administrative groups, things like that. In fact, we use it internally with the Virtual Lab support team to manage this whole project or the virtual lab. And so, if we have someone new coming on board, we will add them directly to that private community. And so we keep that as a way of having all the procedures and processes by which we do our administration and things like that. So that would be appropriate for other people to join. So that's that. There's like other groups. There are a couple other examples of private groups doing that. I think NSSL ITS is using the communities too. So that's that. So let's go ahead and take a look at a couple communities. So I'll show you first off, because I think everyone's interest or has some is associated with AWIPS, there is an AWIPS community. And so I didn't highlight it, but you can go to this go-to menu, and then this is going to list out all the different communities that you're a member of as well. If you see 2 listed, it's because they are, there's a private and a public, meaning that there is a public, what that means is it could be available to any NOAA users that are logged in, or it could mean that it's available to anyone, the public as a whole. It's a permissions issue. Private is only those people that are a member of the community can actually see those pages. So, so I'm going to take you to the MRMS and show you what I'm sorry, we were doing, I got ahead of myself. That's what I was going to do next. Let me go back to the AWIPS community. So the AWIPS community is being used as a means to provide information surrounding AWIPS and AWIPS, mostly AWIPS 2. They're using it to distribute governance information. It's also being used to distribute information about how to develop an AWIPS 2. So we've got development pages, and so if you're interested in doing development, you can come here, find out more information. We have, standalone type install instructions, specific instructions for like the latest release, 14.4.1, what's changed within there. So that's all being managed through the wiki. And if other community members find that there are issues or want to contribute, the nature of a wiki is that can be added. They can contribute to this. The other nice thing about the wikis is that you can subscribe to it. And so by subscribing, you can click on this details and then subscribe. And so that then allows you to, so if you subscribe to it, then you're going to get emails anytime anyone updates the wiki where they've classified it as a major update. And not only do you get an email, it's going to show you in red line strikeout what's changed. So that can be very useful. Subscriptions also apply in terms of the forums. And so, you can go into the forums, and within your communities, you can create different categories. And so you can structure it however you'd like. And then that gives members of your community the ability to go in and subscribe to only those areas that they find of interest. And then two, they're going to get email notifications. With the forums, you get emails if you've subscribed to it, and then you can actually respond to those threads via email and have those then get posted back into your forum within your community. So that's, so like, let me show you in here just an example. So we've got the standalone development, install wiki, and so this is, it comes in here, and so then you can take a look at, this post, and it allows you to go in and, while it hasn't been done here, you can add images. It's if I want to respond to something, you just reply, and it then gives you a WYSIWYG in terms of being able to do what you would want to do. If you're more of an HTML type programmer, you can click on source and edit the HTML directly. So that's the forums. The other thing is that there is there's a whole document library associated with each community that again uses revision control. It's a pretty powerful document library, and this one here, I think actually on the development page we have an example of where we're using that. So down in here, so this is an example where we're pointing to a particular specific area of the document library, but we can go into each of these specific releases, and so they're putting like the SSDD and things like that are being made available via the document libraries. So I chose a bad release. Sorry. So that's that. show you another area to part of the main virtual lab where there was an attempt to make scientific type documents, make those available to people. And Pete Wolf was an instrumental part of setting that up. So that's the document library. And then, so specific to AWIPS, I mentioned too that you can have forums. And so here are some easy type forums. So for different types of requests that come in associated with if you're trying to get something into AWIPS2, the process is all documented here, and this page is dedicated to the Software Recommendation and Evaluation Committee, SREC. And so if you want to know something about it, you can come here and look at it. And so, like, if you needed a new branch for AWIPS2 branch, you can come in here, click on that, make your request. It'll get routed to the proper people, and then you'll get that branch created for you. So, and that's all inside of the product in terms of the workflow. So that's that. And I'll very briefly touch on MRMS because they're using some things that I think it's a little bit more lively in terms of the site. So they're using an image carousel up here that's available for people to do. They've structured it in such a way that the communities can be laid out however you choose. Each of these portlets, these areas here, are movable, and you can add additional ones by just coming up to the Add option. And then if you've got web content that you want to display that's somewhat static in nature, like this here, you can add another web content display. Some of the things that we're doing give you, like this what's new on the right-hand side. That's important because it will update automatically as content gets updated to the site. And so that's a way of keeping your community fresh without you necessarily having to update static web content. So this would allow you to go to each of these new entries as people post things to your site, whether it's wiki pages or forums, and that can all be configured through the portlet itself. This is called an asset publisher. So that's that.
This is Steve Smith. I just wanted to jump in here and say that, so the MRMS becomes operational at NCEP next week. So this is an important data set that's valuable for all sorts of aspects of our field operations. And this community that's been set up in the VLab is the official source of information on the MRMS, the training, discussion of the AWIPS menus, and et cetera, et cetera. So, if there's need to find stuff on MRMS, this is the go-to place to find it. Thanks.
All right. So that's so what they've done here is, they made the choice that they put everything in the world in terms of all the content on this front page, so you can see it. It's all in here. So this is an example of a blog that they've put together, or blogs that they've put together. And so that's an option too that I haven't covered. People can subscribe to that. You can see that you can make it very rich in terms of adding images and things like that to it. But that doesn't necessarily mean that it's only found here. So for those that like to be more, think of things in terms of functionality, then you can go to the appropriate page. So there's this page hierarchy up on the right. So if you're just interested in the forums, you can click on the forums and just see those here. Or if you're just interested in the blogs, you can see it there. So it allows you to do things. And if I wanted to create a new page within this community, it's really as simple as clicking on New, Add Page, and then that page shows up, you name it, and you're done. So, and then you can drop your portlets on it in terms of doing what you want to do. If you have, YouTube videos and things like that, you can put those and embed them on your pages as well. It's, that's easy to do, and we've got support for that and guidance on how to do that. And the Google Analytics is a case where they've done that within their community. Okay, so let me touch on Science Sharing Document Library, and then I will switch gears to the development services. So on the part of the main community, the virtual lab community, there is a science sharing page, and if you click on that, this is a case where we've worked to get a bunch of documents within here, and the idea was that SOOs and DOs would be able to upload content from their sites and then be able to share it across the Weather Service. And so some of the ways in which this package or library can help support it in a virtual lab can help support it is that when you upload documents, everything gets searched. So in other words, it's not just based upon the title. If it's a PDF or a Word-type document, those get scanned when they're imported, and then so terms and things found within the document itself are searchable as well. So if I wanted to do a search over tornado-related documents, I could do that and do that search here, and it's going to return those entries that reference tornadoes that we have updated within the science sharing document library. So that's that. If I wanted to search for not just documents, but maybe wiki pages or anything else, I can do the same search, but do it up here, and then you have the option of either doing it as everywhere, so that's any community you're a member of, or just this community. And so you can do that sort of search. And so it's a faceted type search, and it's going to then return you with a listing, and it's going to break it up. So if there were a couple of references for bookmarks that reference tornadoes, we had 63 documents that reference it, and there are 11 pieces of web content. And so then when you're uploading content, you can also flag it with categories and tags. The tags are freeform. Categories are defined, are centrally defined. And then it's broken up by time as well. So that would then allow you to click on those and see that that specific document itself. The document can then be downloaded. It can also be, so here we go. So you can rate it in terms of the operational relevance. If you've got comments that you think others would be interested in seeing, you can comment on the document, and then that too, by default, you're subscribed to it, so if anyone responds, you would get those via emails. And then, of course, you can download it. There is a feature as well to do like a preview, inline preview. We've currently got that disabled, but it should be turned back on when we're in the IDP environment. There were some issues that were introduced by that. So that's kind of a nice thing to be able to view the document without having to download it. So a lot of these options up here are because I'm an administrator on the site. So, but like in terms of the permissions and things like that. But as a SOO or DOE, you should have the ability to edit the document or upload new documents. And you can upload more than one document at a time. So anyway, that's there. So let's switch over to development services unless I have a specific question concerning collaboration services. Okay. So on the, let me make this a little bigger. Okay, so the development services, so again, this is the Redmine project. It's a project management tool, and it's surrounded, it's based around this concept of projects. And so as was mentioned, there are over 60 different projects currently underway. The specific ones that are for AWIPS2 are hazard services. There's AWIPS2 build, so this is the AWIPS2 source code is directly accessible. There's a lot in here with regard to AWIPS and the process by which development organizations get anything into the baseline. You have to go through the VLab now to do that. And so there's a whole process on that. I can highlight that. So, so anyway, you can get a sense. There's a lot in here for Lightning Map Array, Makaitis area, MPing is that project, OHD has some, so tracking mediagram tool. There's a lot in here. There's also things that might be related to AWIPS2, but not directly. So there's some GoZAR type projects. Some of these are directly in relation to AWIPS2, like testing for readiness once it launches, and we've got that fire hose of products coming our way. So that's that. The IRIS project is using VLab to manage that project. And then on the modeling side, LAMP, MOS, those are being managed within here as well. And so then you can see MRMS is a case where they've broken it up, and this is something that can be done. So once you're given, you make a request for a project. I didn't show how you make that request, but it's online form on the community side. You can then, you have the ability to create sub-projects under there, so you can have a hierarchy. So if you have different groups of people working on different things, you can structure it that way. And so on the WFO side, you can see like the LWX, Sterling, they've broken it up into ITO, pilot projects, SOO, and WCM. So they have different sub-projects, and under ITO, they've broken up even further. So each of these then has different projects. And so you can go to LWX and get an overview of what's in here. So this would be an overview of all of the sub-projects, or you can dive in deeper as a member of these projects. And so that's a clear point, is that only the projects are private by default, meaning only people that are members of the projects have access to them, with the exception of like a few administrators such as myself. So that's that. So why don't we go through, and we could use, let's look at hazard services, because that's a pretty active project. So let me go in there, and go back to the projects, and I'll show you the different components that are accessible to you. So MRMS. I pass it up. I think it's in its own area. It's not doesn't fall into. Okay. I keep jumping back and forth. Sorry, guys. So hazard services. So this overview is just going to give you, this is available to the project owners to basically say, what are we doing? There are different issue trackers available on the system. And so this project is using defects, tasks, code improvements, requirements, action items, and trouble tickets. For each of those, they have a different workflow associated with them, meaning that they go through different issue statuses, and then different people can do different things based upon roles. I didn't mention it, but both on the collaboration services side and on this side, development services, there's a very robust roles and permissioning framework. So you can see here. So on this, we've got the manager role. Woody Roberts is managing that at this level. They're the developers that are involved with the hazard services project. And they are made up of GSD developers, Raytheon Omaha, in Omaha, Nebraska. GSD, of course, is in Boulder. And then we have people back in headquarters that are doing it too. And so, Mike Cherma is one of the leads for the project, or he's managing it currently from MDL. So this is a quick way to come here. You can get a sense for, if they can use news type capabilities to distribute information to their users. You can click on the activities page, and as a developer or as just a project member or owner, you can look and see what's taken place. So what are they working on? These are the latest. The top is most recent, so you can then filter it. If I don't care about code changes, I can deselect that from the list, and then it's not going to show me any of the code changes, or if I do, you can apply it, and so there would be listings. So for each of these are different tasks that are being worked on, and so basically, if you're familiar with Mantis or Jira or Track, it's very similar. Everyone seems to love this product, or we don't get any complaints about someday I guess I'm probably going to get one because I keep saying this, but I have not had complaints about Redmine. So anyway, that's that. The roadmap allows you to define different, if you're going to have different releases, you can associate your issues with the releases and then track the progress on that. So you can see that there. This is a listing of all the different issues. It's kind of overwhelming, but you can then filter it as needed in terms of, okay, do we want to know what's currently open or closed? We can add additional filters, as many as you want. And then if it's something that you care about just what are your issues, you can click on My Issues, and that's going to show there. You can save the queries so that if it's something that you're wanting to do frequently, you would just then click on those custom queries on the right-hand side, and then would filter the list of issues. So within each of these issues, then, it's basically just a description of the problem. You can relate these issues to other issues, and there it can have like precedence, so one must follow another, or it blocks another, and that all feeds into the Gantt chart. So if you're familiar with like Microsoft Project, it creates this Gantt chart on the fly, and so as people are filling out and keeping these tickets up to date, your schedule is reflected automatically. So you're not having to take another step to pull all this into a Microsoft Project file because it's all managed within the project here itself. So that's a very powerful feature of this. It also allows people to be able to enter in information and estimate how much time it's going to take, and then if you've turned on the time component, they then enter in the amount of time that they're spending on something, and then you'll get feedback in terms of, are you spending less time or more time, or my estimates, am I overestimating or underestimating? The calendar just shows the start and end times for those particular issues. It's not, I don't find that super useful. Maybe some good news is there. There's also the ability to download the documents associated with the project. There's a wiki here as well. We're using that extensively within the virtual lab project too, as a means to distribute information on how to work within the virtual lab on the development services side, because an integral part of that is Git for AWIPS 2 and Jarrett, which is that code review project software. And so that's new to most people. So we've tried to put a lot of information within the wikis on how to do things. The other last thing I want to show is the repository view. And so the repository view is a view into your repository. It's a way whereby people can peruse the repository. It's going to show the latest release or commits at the top. If you're following best practices, you're always going to reference a valid issue ticket. And so those tickets then, you can see here, like Matt Nash said, issue 3641. So you can then look at 3641 and say, okay, well, this is the actual ticket that was associated with it. And then so it's a two-way street. So you go back and forth. So it's very powerful in terms of being able to keep track of what's changed. And then lastly, so we've got that. And then associated with each of these change sets, of course, you're going to see what was actually committed. You can see a difference in terms of it's a change file. Okay, so what did he do? He actually removed this block from this particular feature.xml file. So that's that can be powerful in terms of if we're documenting things, I can then provide guidance to someone 3 months down the road that says, okay, well, what exactly did I do? Let's go out and take a look at this ticket. And it's all documented within here, and so you've got some accountability. So that is that. I guess I'm going to open it up for questions now, so because we've got like 10 minutes left. Any questions from anyone?
Hey, Ken. This is Matt.
Yeah.
Yeah. While you were talking, I was kind of poking around, and I went into the AWIPS community, and just as a test, I thought I would join the Cave Annotation Tool project. So I'm in the projects.
Okay.
Within, if you want to get there.
So you're on the project side. Okay.
Yeah, I'm on the projects page.
Oh, you're on the projects page. Okay.
Yeah,
so
for the AWIPS community.
Okay.
And when I clicked join, an empty window opened and nothing else happened.
Okay, so we'll look at that. So they set this up. This is a temporary stopgap because it's not what we envision in the long term. So that's something that I was going to touch on at the very end, and I just didn't get to it yet. And that is, where are we going next? And the integration between these two products can be better, and we know that. So we're looking at doing single sign-on, so you don't have to authenticate multiple times. The other thing is that we want to provide dynamic listings of like AWIPS projects within the AWIPS community, also all the projects, just, an overview. We have to still be sensitive to the fact that there might be some information that people don't want to make available to everyone within NOAA, within a particular project, but we want to provide the transparency that, yeah, these different things are going on, because that's the whole point. We want to make sure that if some group comes in and says, yeah, I need to join, I want to be involved, or I want to start doing something surrounding tornado genesis or something like that, and they look in here and there's not a community or a project already underway, then, yeah, great, let's start something up. Or if there is something underway, get a feel for what's going on. So
now that's interesting, because if I click on join for the BMH, I get that window just like you have on your screen. But if I click join on either MPing or the Cave Annotation Tool, a blank window comes up.
Okay, we'll look at that. It looks like it's probably, so I'm getting the same behavior, so something wasn't set up properly there. So that's, so what happens is when a project gets created, we basically give the users the key, and they are in charge then of setting it up. Now, we've helped in setting this, the AWIPS community up, and we will definitely be available to help with others. And I guess the one thing I didn't touch on is, we did create these, the SOO community as a means. It's a blank community. You guys can do whatever you want. We'd have to find out who the community owners would be, but so that's already in place, and so it's tied in with an organization too. So what I mean by that is, if you are added to the Central Region SOO organization, then you're going to be a member of this community. And then if down the road we want to have not just Central Region, but a community associated with SOOs, anyone within the Central Region or any of the other regions would have their own regional SOOs community, but then they'd also be a member of the higher level community at the SOO level. The advantage of that is that we can have this hierarchy, and then when we go to 6.2, we can share content amongst those groups. So anything that's in a parent community, the SOO community as a whole, would be accessible from the child communities, so at the regional level. So anyway, it could be used as a means to collaborate amongst yourselves internally within the region, and then also too at the national level. So anyway, that's there. But thanks for pointing that out. We'll make sure and get that fixed. So any other questions?
Yeah, this is Jeff. I wanted to thank
Craven has one.
Yeah, I wanted to thank you. Thank you guys for putting this on, and I do think that the learning curve on how to navigate and how to exactly to exploit the capabilities will take some time. Yeah, because I've been playing around with it just since I noticed you put those groups on there, and I thought, I could go in and try to create stuff, but I wouldn't really know the best way to do that. For example, with some of these projects that we want to work on that are priorities in each of the Sioux communities, I thought it'd be nice to just have the the title of the project, and I don't know exactly how to split. For example, in the Great Lakes, or the Upper Mississippi Valley, they're working on some of the winter weather techniques and probability of weather type and some of the best practices and exactly how to create a particular area where we post things there. Plus, when I was searching, when I searched for documents and study areas like you had done for the tornado and a bunch of these different sections that had a lot of technical papers posted to it, it wasn't clear to me where, in that science sharing area, it's not clear to me who that belongs to or if that's just part of the virtual lab in general. So there on the topics on the right-hand side, you have all these different topics like severe weather, and when you click on the severe weather, you get it takes a while to load, but you get a variety of papers, and it looks like certain people have uploaded a great deal of those, but it's not clear if they're associated with a particular community or if it's just a totally separate function that is independent of communities.
Yeah, so it's global. So the science sharing was, that was when we first were getting the virtual lab set up. That was one of the core concepts that Pete Wolf, who is on the team in Southern Region, they have this idea of a science sharing library, and so they uploaded a bunch of documents. MDL and some other groups have uploaded a bunch of documents surrounding that. And so the idea was that it would be at the virtual lab level as opposed to embedded at the communities level. So it's for all the Weather Service to share. If there's a vision from the SOOs that should be part of a Sioux community or something else, then that could potentially change.
Yeah, right now, Ken, don't all the SOOs and Weather Service have permission to upload documents right now to the science sharing library?
So when we first created this a couple of years ago, I got the listing of all the SOOs at that point in time, and so we gave them this special role. And I'm sure people have come and gone in terms of the SOO roles. So that's unfortunately with NOAA and NOAA's LDAP, we can't identify SOOs based upon NOAA LDAP attributes, so we can automate this. But we do have this form here on the lower right that allows you to go in, and if you're a SOO and you say, I want to be able to upload documents and I don't have that permission, just come here, fill this out, and send it in, and then we'll quickly give you that particular role. But yeah, so at the point when we established it, every SOO and DOE in the country was added to that list. It's just managing it is, it's not automated at this point in time. So that's, with regard to the comment about, as you go through your different priorities and the type of content that you're looking to add, what you can do is you're free to ask us for feedback. And so in terms of if we can help, we're happy to lend a hand in terms of helping you come up with different approaches for organizing or presenting your data. I mean, you have the best idea in terms of what sort of data you have, what message you need to you want to get across, but we can then help with the technical aspects of it and get you so that it doesn't take that much in terms of it really is a pretty easy interface to work with once you've done it a couple of times, but it is daunting at first. I will give you that. So yeah, there's so much to cover. I didn't touch on everything. The communities, so these categories on the right and the tags, that's a way of navigating. So if I select this, it's going to then only display documents that have been tagged, or I'm sorry, categorized as being related to severe weather. And when you upload a document, you have that opportunity to use pre-existing categories. It also then, we have these portlets on the bottom that allow you to see, okay, what are the most recent documents, and then it's been filtered by that particular category that was selected on the right. You can do the same thing with the tags. So the approach that we took here was we put everything within one folder, and then you use the categories and tags as a mean, and the searching ability as a means to filter it. But you could just as easily go in and create subfolders and do it that way. We kind of followed the approach similar to what's being done with Gmail, but either is a valid option. So what need help, if you click on this, we have multiple different ways. So you can send an email directly to us, VLabAdmin, by clicking on that. If you've got feedback, you can do this here, or if you want more of like a meeting established with us to work through things, just click on this here, and then you can describe it, what's needed or how quickly you need it, and then send that to us. And again, like I said, all of this is tied in with the workflow, and so I'll get an email, and then right now I don't have any workflow tasks. Everyone has this ability, but you can then see different work that's been accomplished. So if someone's come in and said, we want a new community, then that community, it comes in this form. And so who made the request, what type of community, and that's all tied in with so the form that was filled out. And so I didn't highlight this either. Just there's so much here. But so if you're interested in the community, you can just come in here, request it, the community type, and this likewise, if you're interested in a project, you can come on the bottom of this page. There's a request there, and we've got quick links on the main page to get to these, because I know I'm zooming through. So if you're coming in here, and some of these things that are most often wanted, request a new community, that's going to take you right to it. Request a new project, that'll take you right to it. So anyway, any other questions before we wrap up? I know we're a couple minutes over the hour.
Ken, I think it was Matt Bunkers. He wanted to know, he saw in your browser that there were URLs with Innovate in them, and then sometimes there were URLs with Collaborate 3 in them, and he didn't understand the distinction. Could you quickly?
Okay, so yeah, so that's a good question. That will be changing. Right today, we're hosted in 2 different environments. So the collaboration services side, that's why it's nwsweather.gov/innovate. That's actually within NIDS in Kansas City. The Collaborate 3, that's on the TOC within SSMC2 at headquarters. And we're moving everything to the IDP web farm. And so the URLs, it's pretty much set at this point, are going to be HTTPS. It's going to be vlab.nsep.noaa.gov for collaboration services. and then we'll have /redmine, same URL, but just / with redmine to get to development services. No, I'm sorry, just VLDS. I think it was VLDS. And then we've got Jenkins and Jarrett. So the URL will be consistent come mid-November. Anything else?
Okay. Well, thanks, Jeff, again, and thanks, folks, for taking the time out to, get this sort of tutorial. And we're eager to help you out. As we mentioned before, we have somebody on duty during business hours every day of the week to, answer your questions, get you stuck or unstuck if you're stuck, or troubleshoot any problem you're having. So please feel free to engage us, let us know what you need, and we'll do whatever we can to get you going and be productive using the various tools. So we're looking forward to having you try things out and having you help us make VLab the service that you can use and rely on. All right, thanks a lot. Signing off.